Daddy's going to take you all to school.
Like countless young families across the ACT, Veronica Fortune and her children love walking to school.
They get to run into friends as they go along, and they know their neighbourhood quite well and confidently because of that.
But there are dangers. The biggest one is the traffic at drop-off and pick-up times and drivers who don't obey the laws.
I've had a near miss myself. Someone was going a bit quickly through the crossing up there. Thankfully, I had my sons in a pram at that time and my daughter was standing right next to me, but they're supposed to stop at those crossings when the flags are out. They didn't.
She wrote to the government asking for a series of changes that would reduce the risks.
Speed bumps are not close enough to the crossing, and we may need more of them. A wombat crossing at the crossing would really help because it would force cars to slow down right before they got to where children are.
In terms of their physical size, they're a lot smaller, and so they're at a much greater risk for serious injury.
James Thompson is an expert in road safety. His team's recent research focused on school zones across the ACT, finding that more than a third of drivers exceeded 40 kilometres per hour during school zone times.
But it also went up to almost 50% of vehicles were speeding through the school zones when the default speed limit that applies outside of school times was 60 kilometres. Yes, it was almost 50% of drivers were speeding through the school zones.
Dr Thompson is adamant the ACT's current school zone speed settings don't sufficiently protect anyone, let alone a child.
A pedestrian, you're hit by a vehicle at 30 kilometres or greater, that you're at a very high risk of being seriously or fatally injured. But if you hit sort of under 30 kilometres, you have a pretty good chance of surviving.
The report on ACT school zones recommends several changes. The key is to make all school zone speed limits 30 kilometres per hour. Extending time limits 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. instead of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. is also recommended to protect children at before and after school care. Speed bumps, electronic signs and clearly marked crossings are suggested at all schools from kindergarten to year 12.
Parents are too worried about letting their children walk around here because there's no crossings.
Anne Cleary recently led a project with St Clair's College community, asking what risks the students and their families faced.
So we have 800 family groups who come to our school, and of those 200 responded to a survey. That's a huge response. What they expressed to us was the dangers in student movement around the school, and not just Canberra Avenue where we had that terrible accident and has been a focus of attention.
Dr Cleary thinks families would support a 30-kilometre school zone limit and extended times. But she says speed limits on the roads around St Clair's also need to be reduced as part of a broader suite of structural improvements.
You can make our school zone 30, but if you're still coming off a 60k road, the chances are you're still going to be exceeding the speed limit, and if you drop this one, probably just exceeding it at a higher speed.
The ACT government wasn't available for interview to discuss possible school zone changes. In a statement, a spokesperson said,
"The ACT government welcomes the outcomes of the research and will consider future actions as part of the current development of the next ACT road safety strategy."
So will drivers accept these changes and the possible inconvenience that comes with them?
I think it would make a huge difference because it would make the area more welcoming to pedestrians.
The public, if you explain to them what's at risk and what can be gained by improving the safety of school zones, they would absolutely get on board with it. When are we going to start taking the safety of school children seriously?
An open question for every Canberran. Adam Shirley, ABC News, Canberra.